Hello to all you beautiful people out there. Regnilla over here bringing you the next episode of Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. In today's episode, we're taking on the flagship monster of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, the Nargacuga. Now this is a quest that, if we were talking about Freedom Unite mechanics, would go south very quickly. Thankfully, that's not going to be the case in this game, but things can still go south pretty quickly. As you can see, I'm bringing the usual equipment I've been using up to this point, so full Rathian gear with health plus 50, detect, and divine blessing. And this time around, not going to be using fire attack plus 1. In this case, I'm opting for the Usurper's Bolt Slicer, as it has better sharpness. Now, something else to keep in mind here is that this is also a post-commentary recording. In the original recording, I used a different method of recording for the commentary, and well, it could have went either one of two ways. Way one, things were a lot better, or way two, things were a lot worse, and I'm gonna have to re-record the audio. So that's what you're hearing today. And if I'm sounding a little bit off, it is currently past midnight, and I just wanted to get this done. So, knock on wood. The quest we're doing right now is jumping at shadows. So we're hunting the Nargacuga. And this is, again, a quest you don't want to take very lightly, as the Nargacuga is a very fast pseudo wyvern. In fact, the Barioth from Generation 3, so that is Monster Hunter Tri and Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, as well as, of course, this game as well, is very much inspired from the Nargacuga. In fact, in Monster Hunter Tri specifically, one can say that the Barioth was a carbon copy of Nargacuga in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of attributes that the Barioth had that's very, very similar to a Nargacuga. So one of which was the speed. In the original Monster Hunter Tri game, Barioth was insanely fast, way faster than he had any right to be. And even today, he's still a very fast monster, but the only upside with having a fast monster like that is that his wings are breakable, and you can put him in a position where you have the advantage. With Nargacuga, that's not exactly the case, as they have very similar features. One of those features is not the ability to lose footing, or at least not to be able to lose footing very easily. The Nargacuga is, well, he's gonna last a lot longer than a Barioth with a couple of broken wings. So Nargacuga here is in Area 5. He's just hanging out, and this is where we have our cutscene with a couple of lovely little Kelbies that are now going to play as food. So Nargacuga is in the shadows, and he's just kind of stalking the prey, and I believe the Narga here starts out in rage mode, which is one of the most unfair things I've seen in a Monster Hunter game in so long. And you can tell the Narga is in rage mode by the eyes. And here's another weird thing, just stays kind of frozen there. I don't know why, it makes no sense. But anyways, if you take a look at his eyes, you see those red streaks. That's the indication that he is in rage mode. And so this quest has already come off to a rough start, and he is gonna be knocking me around quite a bit. In comparison with the Barioth, the Nargacuga also uses its wings a lot for attacks. But the thing you need to look out for is that tail, that spiky tail, which is also another indication that he's in rage mode. When you see those spikes out, that's another sign that he's in rage mode. And it's always a constant. There are times where he does whip out the spikes when he's not in rage mode, and that's usually when he's going to be flinging spikes at you from a distance, which is also something you got to watch out for. But this monster loves using this tail for attacking, and a lot of times it's that tail swipe right there. But there are other times where he uses a tail slam, and this move in Freedom Unite was the bane of every hunter's existence. Because of the broken hitboxes, that tail slam would hit you from a mile away, and so it was just a nightmare to be hit by. Plus, it does a lot of damage as well. So that's like the one attack you really don't want to get hit by. And in Generation 3 here, Nargacuga has, I believe it's only one additional attack with the tail, where he flings his body all around to the side, where he tries to do a tail whip at you. So it's not necessarily this one right here, it's a different one that's very similar. It's this one right here, and it's, oh man, it's an annoying attack to get hit by, but it's also very satisfying if you go ahead and get that dodge off. And as of right now, the Nargacuga is going to be behaving pretty strangely throughout this video, not just with that introduction, but just in general. So number one thing here is that I believe he's going to go off for food already, which makes no sense. The quest just started, and at the beginning there, he killed himself a Kelby. He should have been eating it. I don't know what he was doing. He might have just been distracted by a shiny object. You just don't know. Now, one of the things that you want to try to do with the Nargacuga, or at least to try to keep you safe when you're actively attacking him, is that you want to try aiming for either the head or the hind legs, especially the hind legs, as if you are at the hind legs right behind the wings, he has less of an opportunity to attack you and hit you. It's never a guarantee, but it's one of the safer places to be around this particular monster. But something else to keep in mind is that the Narga is very sensitive to sound. And you might have noticed that Misty had thrown a barrel bomb at him, and I swear, Misty is like the worst cat I've ever had. She's worse than Natalie in a lot of ways, and that's saying something because Natalie was a terror. But because of the sound effect from the barrel bomb that was thrown, it stunned the Nargacuga, and as a result, he goes instantly into rage mode. It is a problem. So if the Narga is in a position where he's kind of distracted and maybe jumping around, that might be the time to throw a sonic bomb and really stun him. But aside from that, you kind of don't want to be using a sonic bomb to stun him, unless maybe if you were in a group and you wanted to get the Narga in a position where he will be very vulnerable. One of the other things to look out for, aside from this tail, is the fact that the Narga can avoid traps at a certain level. So I always forget whether or not if he was in rage mode or if he was out of rage mode. I want to say if he's out of rage mode, he avoids pitfall traps, and then once he's angry, that's when he is vulnerable to the pitfall traps. Or it could be wrong. It could be the opposite, because I can never remember this thing. I believe it's the exact opposite of a Rajang, which that only further confuses the narrative. So you want to really time your traps right if you're going to be using pitfalls. With shock traps, I don't think it matters. He will be affected by a shock trap no matter what. So if you have shock traps on hand, that's also a great thing to be using. And speaking of things to be using, I believe this monster is weakest to fire. I'm only using, again, the Bolt Slicer because of the additional sharpness, which in this stage in the game, I'm looking for both attack power and sharpness. The actual elemental effect, it comes secondary in a lot of cases. Only when there is a monster like where I feel like really deserves that bit of extra damage. So I don't know, like Zinogre, and getting that fire damage off, even though he is actually weakest to ice. That's something I had forgotten about. But going back to the Narga here, his weak point is the head, like most other monsters, and you can break the head, again, as most other monsters, but you can also break the two-bladed wingtips, which is easier said than done because they're also very hard, and as a result, you might be bouncing off a lot unless you're using a longsword and you're in the middle of a spirit combo. If you're in the middle of a spirit combo, the toughness of the body part doesn't really matter. Sure, you're going to be doing less damage, however, you won't be bouncing back, which is probably the more important part. The tail can also be cut off, but there's a couple caveats here. Caveat number one is that the tail must first be broken. So that's something that you want to try out first. And now caveat number 2, and something I don't remember if it's still a thing in the later Monster Hunter games, but especially in Freedom Unite, in order to cut off that tail, the Narga needs to be in rage mode. So if you're trying to do that again here, you might need to wait until he's in rage mode to really cut that tail off. And, well, Narga here is not having the best of days. So he started off as, just no animations, just kind of staying there doing nothing. And then he gets exhausted really quickly, and then gets something to eat, and then he goes back into rage mode, and again he goes back as to being really hungry again. So he's really behaving odd. I expected this fight to be a lot different, probably a little bit tougher and more action-packed, but it's a lot of me getting knocked around as per usual, and Narga being stunned and then getting mad and then leaving. It's just really, really weird. It's just, but you know, so long as the fight goes by quickly, I don't really mind. And it went by quickly in this case, despite my earlier predictions. If you're an experienced player, then this Narga, if you're going to use this video as any reference, then I guess 5 to 10 minutes, but that could just be Narga weirdness. But if you're a newer player and you're not used to this kind of speed and craziness, the Narga might take between 15 to 20 minutes, unless you're getting really knocked around, and then it could take between 20 and 25 minutes. But that's going to do it for me and this video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're interested in any of my other content, be sure to smash on one of those annotations that'll be featured at the end of this video, and I will see you all again next time. Take care, people.